I'm Jess Stocker. I'm the coach of the Open One team for Northwood Falcons. I've been in love with softball for a very long time. When I first became involved in the game, as wild as this might seem to those of you who are relatively new to it, Northwood Falcons, or Waverley North as we were originally known, had 28 teams just by ourselves. We had junior team and senior team managers, and their responsibility was to make sure that each team had enough players, that they had all of the officials that they needed, scorers and coaches and so on and so forth, and that everything was just ticking along the way it should. There were so many players from all clubs that were nominating for junior Waverley team representations, that's the Red Sox and Blue Sox, that they would run a round-robin series of games, select 60 players to come back from those games to run in a squad for a number of weeks. They would finally whittle them down to the point where they would pick 13 players for the Red Sox team and 13 players for the Blue Sox team, and they would represent Waverley at the various competitions. I tell you this because as one of the elders of the club, I kind of feel like it's my responsibility to share some of the stories of the past so that we can dream a little bit about what the future may hold. This is a cyclical game. Things will turn around again and the numbers will be back to it, and we need to be ready to play it. But it'll be your job to tell the stories of now to those players. It would be easy to say that it was better back then because it always kind of feels that way. But I can assure you that we had plenty to complain about, and we certainly did. The truth is that at some stage, where we are right now will become the good old days. And as I say, it will be your responsibility to tell these stories. In most years that I've been involved with the club, there have been those people who have just been the glue that hold things together. Important people to it. I want to talk about them for the moment because they're very important to me, and I think they're very important to the club. While Open One didn't have the season that we'd hoped for, it's never all bad, and there are always things that are well worth remembering and calling out. I always had my heart in my mouth when it came to our battery because softball success relies really heavily on pitching, catching, and hitting. When Izzy got hurt and couldn't play, we really needed someone to step up, and that person was Drew. And I'm really grateful for her effort and her willingness to take my guidance. And a lot of this resulted in some really good performances and some wins. And I hope she'll leverage those experiences into future success. I also want to talk about Kira and Emily, who turned up every week with big smiles on their faces, ready to do what it took. They would either sit on the bench and listen to my ramblings and cussing, or they would run around the field and do what was asked of them, have a turn at bat, run the bases, do whatever was required. I'm really grateful for their help and their willingness to be part of the team. One of the fundamentals of the Open One competition ground rules is that you have to start with 9 players and finish with 9 players. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the awards process. But one day we only had 8 players with minutes to go before the game, so we were really staring down the barrel of a forfeit if we couldn't solve this. Enter Jane Perry, who stood up and without a moment's hesitation agreed to play Open One, which was much higher standard than she was used to playing each week. I do recall that she had a really good turn at bat. I remember the determination on her face and the effort that she put into it, the foul balls. And in the end, I recall that she was out by a step at first base on a pretty good play. And I was really proud of her effort and that turn at bat. Not only that, when Liz arrived, Jane just smiled really happily and said, "Good luck to everybody," and took off and went and played her normal game. And if that isn't just a perfect example of team first, then I can't think of a better one. And I wanted to call you out, Jane, and say thank you very much. It was one of the real highlights for me for Open One during the year. Also wanted to thank Sharon Stocker and Mark Juna for scoring during the year, and anybody that stood at first base to help. Your contribution was really highly valued. Last, I guess, is to thank the committee of Northwood Falcons for giving me the opportunity to coach. It's always gold. Every time I've had the opportunity to do it, I've enjoyed it, and I'm really grateful to have been involved this year and with such a great club. Every year I get to this point and I'm reminded of how much I actually hate individualising the team. Team together, everyone achieves more. Regardless, it is part of my role, and there are always outstanding individual performances that are worthy of note. One of the awards that I have the good fortune to nominate is for the Falcons Open One Coaches Award. I said I wanted to come back to the starting and finishing with 9 players. Each week we had 9 to start and finish. One of those was Izzy, and she took up the challenge every week of making sure we had enough players for the Open One. Midweek, weekends, whenever we needed to play. I should add that she also did the same for the Open 2 team. She coached the Open 2 team. She pitched for the Open 2 team, and then she would come and give her all behind the dish for Open 1. Just to build on that for a moment, I think it's been quite some time since Izzy caught, and yet she knew that she was our best option, and so she made sure that she kept listening and working hard to become the best catcher that she could possibly be for our Open 1 team. I think Izzy is smart. I think she's inquiring. I think she's willing. I think she's challenging. I think she's feisty. I know that she's competitive. I know that she's tough. And I also want to note that she's really generous with her time and the effort that she gives. I'm sure that the whole team will join me in congratulating Izzy as the Open One Coaches Award for season 2019 and 2020. The other award that I have the honour of giving is the Falcons Open One MVP Award. When I first started playing and coaching softball, I was struck by how important it is to have quality pitching in the team. Dale's body of work over the past decade speaks for itself, but this MVP award is for 2019 and 2020, where her efforts really kept us competitive and in the hunt at all times. When Dale stood on the plate, we knew the game would be close, or she would keep us close. When she spoke in the huddle, everybody listened to her wisdom and insight, and she was a great example of a competitor who kept us in the game. I remember when Dale first broke into the Open One squad as a young girl. Yeah, been around for a while. She sat and listened to the senior players, especially Ned Peake, Ilse Wakeling, and even Shani Arthur, as she waited her turn and learned her craft. She's now providing that same example to our younger players, and I hope they're watching because there's plenty to learn. Again, I'm sure everybody in the team will join me in congratulating Dale on securing her Open One MVP award for 19 and 20 seasons.